JMAP, a modern email open standard. Fastmail.com continues to deliver great innovations and open sources much of their work. They are the company largely behind this. Check them out. I'm not affiliated in any way to them. Fully agree. I'm also a very happy Fastmail customer of over 10 years now. I could never go back to Gmail. I tried, but FM spam filtering is just hot garbage. Both false negatives and, more troublesome, false positives. It's like stepping back in time 20 years when Somassassin with default config is as good as it gets. Same here. Whenever I have to open Gmail for work, I'm annoyed. You can connect Fastmail to Gmail and never look at Gmail. Your employer may not approve if you Hillary your emails like that though, but that's what I did at a previous employer where this wasn't an issue. Would love to use them. But the pricing is too much. I need a custom domain, or 3. And I have a family of 6 people. So that's $5, user, month equals $30, month equals $360, year. Unfortunately, that's not justifiable for me. And thus why I'm stuck using Gmail with a custom domain. Apple has an incredibly cheap option here. If you subscribe to iCloud Plus, apple.com/iCloud/closing parenthesis, starting at $1 per month, you can share one or more custom email domains with up to 6 people total. I've been using this for a year or so and my family's been happy with it. Do they tightly tie anything to the Apple ecosystem? That is, how friendly is this service if you have no Apple hardware, software? How are they funded, and are they profitable? I've been using Google Apps for email for 10 plus years and I don't want my email provider to die at the whim of some Sandhill investor's emotions at a Bay Area house party. You pay them. Is that enough for their company to be alive? Many startups offer paid services, but it isn't enough to cover their own costs and salaries in the first several years. Everything depends on investors willing to fund them through that period. Sounds like the big claim here is that it is faster. That's definitely a good thing. But what I want is a protocol where, every time I give out my email address, behind the scenes a single source permission token is created. 2. Thus, that one source is able to send me email from the email address they specified at the time. 3. But if they hand over the permission token to anyone else, email from that new source will automatically bounce, be marked as suspect, flagged, my choice in configuration. 4. Even if the original authorized party tries to email me from a different address at the same domain, that email will be handled as in. 3. 5. Even from the same email address, the configuration can specify limits, e.g. only 5 emails total, only 3 per week, expire after 10 days, etc. Again, configurable. Oh, and 6. Of course this means unsubscription becomes a local configuration thing that doesn't require the sender's participation. I know current email protocols allow none of that, but if we're proposing new protocols, that's what I want out of it. Faster is better too. Your vision is further than Fastmail can currently take you, but a partial solution which I use is to just give out a unique email address to each company. That way when you get spam you can disable that address for future use and also use it as a conversation starter with whoever leaked your data to a spammer. The format I use is, your name, my name, my domain. So there's a unique address for every pair, some of which I've disabled delivery for. Do you have the system automated? Meaning, if I send email right now to some random string, your name, your domain, does it get automatically rejected or flagged? And if yes, how do you add my name to your whitelist? Every time I give out my email address, behind the scenes a single source permission token is created. 2. Thus, that one source is able to send me email from the email address they specified at the time. 3. But if they hand over the permission token to anyone else, email from that new source will automatically bounce, be marked as suspect, flagged, my choice in configuration. Do you mean hand out in a digital sense or on a business card? I'm not sure you can support the business card use case if you implement that. I assume that business cards would have a unique email endpoint to allow for this case, kind of like how Gmail and others allow you to add plus to the end of your email address. So you'd have a set of business card emails plus rules that would allow only the first sender to send emails to that address, for example. Sounds like you want email to work basically one-to-one with OAuth, where you authorize the sender the way you would grant access to your Google, Spotify account. I would actually love this flow, and you get OpenID style SSO for free. Could be the actual password killer. So bummed. Encryption is missing again. Users expect to be able to search their whole archive. So either you need all the data in the client, or the server needs to have access to the data. JMAP is therefore not introducing any new measures to address end-to-end encryption. You don't need to transfer gigs of emails to a client and manually search character by character through a massive trove of data. That isn't how search functions. You can use probabilistic filters, like Bloom filters, so a client can actually run a search on thousands of emails using only a few hundred kilobytes, or maybe megabytes, of actual encrypted data. Basically, less than a modern web page. Each time a new email is downloaded, parse it, add it to an index segment, encrypt it, and store it back on the email server. Different clients can reuse the same indexes. That still requires the client to have downloaded all emails in the past in order to generate the Bloom filters. Those filters can't be provided by the server, which is maybe fine if you're starting an email account from scratch, but it is going to take a long time to set up email search on a new phone. Also, emails are a pretty bad use case for Bloom filters because you need to construct an entire filter per email for search. Since many emails are short, a sentence or two, you'll find each Bloom filter may actually be larger than the email itself. I don't know if there are other types of probabilistic filters more suited to email search, however. I don't know. Tutanota does client-side search and I don't like it. But they do full text searches. Do Bloom filters deliver the same accuracy? From technical point of view, this sounds interesting. Do you have any example of such implementation for text search anywhere? I can see multiple challenges in implementing something like this, and I would like to educate myself. A lot of the optimizations for efficient client-server sync require the server to be able to read the message. If everything were encrypted, the server would basically be a dumb blob store. This is particularly bad for mobile, where you only want to sync partial information. Users expect to be able to search their whole archive, so either you need all the data in the client, or the server needs to have access to the data. JMAP is therefore not introducing any new measures to address end-to-end encryption. The best advice is probably to run your own JMAP server on trusted hardware. Otherwise, you need to sync the entire multi-gigabyte mail spool to all your devices. JMAP is also simple enough that you could run the server on multiple machines with an underlying replication protocol over encrypted links and have that do your smarts. They lost a huge opportunity. Encryption at rest of emails and E2EE should have been how we built these protocols from the start. Here we get a chance to try it in. No, just self-host instead. I enjoy self-hosting stuff, but it's just not what normal people will be doing, and they deserve privacy too. Also, self-hosting email is possibly the most complicated self-hosting task you can think of due to deliverability issues. My biggest pain point with mail providers that support encryption, such as Proton or Tutanota, is that I have to run a bridge application that hosts the IMAP server on my machine, since otherwise there's no way to get the encrypted payloads into my mail client. Otherwise, I will have to use their proprietary client. Proprietary in the sense it implements their own protocols. This sucks, and it could be solved at the protocol level with JMAP. I expected this to be a top priority of the Fastmail team when developing this, but unfortunately it's not. The fact that JMAP has ~0 adoption outside Fastmail itself contradicts the much-needed part of this title. The problem is that email has been taken over by a handful of providers, all of which have growth and engagement as their business model and would rather not implement any open protocol at all. IMAP remains supported for backwards compatibility, but I'm sure its shortcomings are seen as a feature to push users towards the official clients, so there is no incentive to implement another open protocol to address them. Case in point. MS making it more and more annoying to use IMAP. Hell, now you need to create OAuth2 app just to log in from non-approved client, as they recently forced OAuth2 auth on IMAP clients. Sure, Thunderbird works, but most lesser-known clients require a lot of fuckery to make work, and possibly admin permissions for domain, not sure. This is a problem, but the other problem is the tools to implement the service. You can use Cyrus, Apache James, or Stalwart, and that's it. These tools do not integrate with anything. In the case of Stalwart, the only JMAP server not in experimental status. You can't just install a JMAP server attached to an existing email service. you have to hand it complete control of everything, even unto the on-disk storage of mail. This is a complete non-starter for any email service outside of hobby, personal hosting. In other words, even if someone wanted to make JMAP available to their users, they'd have to tear the whole thing down and rebuild it in JMAP's image, and the tools available to do so are not fully featured or integratable enough to do so. Yep, if you go and register a new Gmail account today, there will likely be no option to enable IMAP access for that account altogether. Why would you need to enable IMAP? It works out of the box. Every non-Android platform uses IMAP to access your account. K9 Mail, Outlook, Thunderbird, the iOS, Mac email client, etc. There is no incentive for existing email providers to adopt new standard. They would never adopt something new and improved unless it's groundbreaking. You can cry conspiracy all you want, but the fact is that even Thunderbird, the flagship open-source email client, does not support JMAP. I have a hard time believing that JMAP is good specifically because it's yet to grow much further than Fastmail. I love that it's open, and I'm a long-term happy-paying customer of Fastmail, but as an engineer I'd be skeptical of JMAP. I don't have the expertise to know if JMAP solves the necessary problems, and there are probably not that many engineers who do, as deep IMAP pop knowledge is somewhat rare at this point. The problem is Gmail. Google is a bad actor who significantly prefers clients have to support a proprietary API, even though JMAP takes all of the proprietary hacks Gmail built and standardizes them. Things like snoozed emails, labels, etc. cannot be implemented with IMAP, but can with JMAP. Supporting JMAP would mean clients that have hacky issues syncing things around labels and snoozed emails could just work, without having to use a proprietary Google API to do it. That alone would be a huge benefit to JMAP being not just widely used, but specifically used by Gmail. The problem is Gmail compatibility has been used as a club to beat down competing OS platforms before, and Google has a strong vested interest in requiring clients use their proprietary APIs and features. Building walled gardens is the core way Google extracts value. It's amazing how the people who have the hardest time believing in JMAP all work or have worked for the company that is most strongly vested in its failure. I'm not sure if I understand the claimed benefit of JMAP being an open standard. Isn't IMAP already an open standard? If so, if Gmail adopted JMAP and added proprietary APIs to it, wouldn't we end up where we are now? First, they need to get massive email providers to offer JMAP support, and then get clients to support it. Surely this is simply too big a ship to steer. Google is not going to support this, and isn't that greater than 50% of the market? Executive summary. Webization of mailbox access for developers who don't understand anything outside of the web bubble. Have you tried to send SMTP email lately? Most residential ISPs block SMTP ports and all the encrypted variants of it. If you want something that works for everyone, it has to be port 443 and Webby. And any mobile push notifications better be via Google Apple notification services, because modern OSes don't let applications leave a hanging TCP connection open anymore.